Welcome to Crack the Friendship Code. I am your host, Theodora Voss. My pronouns are her, she, hers, and I'm seated against a white wall with vinyl records hanging up behind me. I have long black hair today, and I'm a Black woman with a dark and warm skin tone. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're seasoned here, nice to connect with you again. I've been in the learning and development industry for over 13 years, and I've contracted for some of the largest companies in tech. I love learning and I love teaching. I've experienced so much of my own loss in life, from losing my mom at age 13 to my best friend passing away and going through a divorce all at age 26. I understand the importance of developing genuine friendships as a result. All of these experiences and lessons birth what you see now as Crack the Friendship Code. And on our show, you're going to hear from myself and other women who have achieved success in different levels of their lives, whether it be career, business, or passions. Along the way, we have all discovered the importance of aligning our friendships with our purpose. And our hopes are that you too can ignite purpose-aligned friendships and have more meaningful and genuine friendships. And with that, let me introduce today's guest. Every woman who is on our show is nothing short of phenomenal and wildly successful. Meet Carmen Benton, who is a retired corporate executive, mom of three, and a renowned freedom coach and master energy healer. With her extensive experience and expertise, Carmen empowers driven souls to thrive and reach the next level in their lives, relationships, careers, and businesses. As a public speaker and podcast host of Living Intentionally with Carmen Benton, she shares her profound insights on activating one's capacity for quantum leaps by healing unresolved childhood traumas without the need to re-experience the pain. Ooh, yes. I gotta say that again. Without the need to re-experience the pain. That one caught me. So originally from Panama and now residing in Alaska, Carmen is also a published author. Welcome, Carmen.
So happy to be here. Nice to meet you, Theodora. Thank you. Thank you. And in describing myself, my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I am a naturally highlight grade woman, embracing all my years, and with a dark hair in the background. And I'm sitting on the off-white wall with a beautiful picture of Charleston, South Carolina.
Ooh, okay. I didn't know that's what that was. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, Charleston is a beautiful place. The peach, we gotta go see the peach. Okay, so let's get into this. Usually we start off with our guests talking about career and purpose. And one of the things that I see a lot of, and I'm sure everybody listening has experienced this, we often sometimes mistake career for purpose, right? Yet sometimes it's not the career itself, but rather certain elements within it that allow us to fulfill and thrive in our purpose. So, Carmen, I want to start off by talking about you and what your purpose is.
My purpose is to empower women to know they are limitless. Even when I was a corporate executive, I had a long corporate career. I climbed the stair all the way to the top, the ladder all the way to the top, had a beautiful corner office. I had a team of 50 people in a telecom company. I was the first VP Latina in that telecom company. And my passion was to always empower women. We were the minority. There was always men at the table, and it was very rare to see a woman. And I always wanted to know that I could give them the tools and the coaching to excel and to be able to speak up and to show up authentically, yet progress in their career.
That's absolutely amazing. And, you went from corporate to, being an entrepreneur. What was a little bit of that transition like?
So it's funny because this is my passion. This is where, I always needed to be. But there were a lot of stigma and, shoots and limiting beliefs I had to overcome because I was raised, in a third world country, not a lot of wealth. And it was always like the careers was going to take me out of here. And it did, right? I got my degrees, my MBA, got an amazing job, and started making a lot of money when I was young, but it would never fulfill me. And this is where I really specialized on being the best leader I could, because it gave me that outlet to coaching, right? But it got a point where I was like, okay, I got all the boxes checked in this career. And I still not fulfilled, right?
Mm,
So in my healing process, working with all the things I teach now, I realized this is where I needed to be. So I gracefully exit my career. I retired. I gave them plenty of notice, and
yeah.
I moved into doing what really, really makes my soul sing. And the testament of that is that everyone who sees me, like in LinkedIn, that were connected to me before, the first thing they have to say always is like, "You look so happy," and I'm like, "I am so happy." Because I'm living my life's purpose now.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love that. And you mentioned, having to break up with certain mindsets, right?
Mhm.
But so you talked about some of the mindsets, but what were some of the limiting beliefs and maybe even some of the friendships that you had to kind of break up with on this journey of, discovery and getting to your passion?
Yes. So I grew up thinking that in order to get anything done, I had to work hard. And that came from neglect, emotional neglect I felt from my mom. And I became the best student, and I was always trying to be the best at everything I touched, but it was always because I was trying to get her praise. And it never happened. It still doesn't happen, right? But
Mm,
what happened is like I got caught up in this dopamine cycle. It's
hmm.
very easy. It's a socially accepted drug to be a workaholic. And that's what I became, right? Because I was the best at it. And so I would work hard. I was working 80 hours a week, right? I was making a lot of money, right? But I was working 80 hours a week, and I would work hard, and I will get either recognition verbally or a promotion or a raise. And then the cycle started getting worse and worse and worse. But what happened is that I was neglecting my children. So in a sense, I was doing to my children the same thing that my mother did to me and my grandma did to my mom. So this generational trauma was continue to being passed on. And I'm like, no, 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 this needs to stop. It's going to stop with me. So that was kind of like an awakening moment. My older kids are teenagers, and I start realizing, like, what have I done? Right.
Hmm.
And so I had to break up with the limiting belief that I needed to perform to be loved. That's
Mm.
that's at the base of that work.
I don't think people really like listen, you didn't sit in that long enough for people, so I want to highlight it, okay? Carmen said, y'all, she said, working hard is a socially acceptable drug. Like, yes. Yeah, like, oh my God. Sorry. Like that was just so profound because it's so true. Like we mistake doing, sometimes for approval, for love, for acceptance, and doing and being are two different things. And so we should focus on being in order to be loved. Like who you are is enough, and showing up is enough.
Can I
Ooh.
add something to that? So the
Mm-hmm.
doing is a masculine energy, and there is nothing wrong with having masculine energy. In
No.
fact, I have plenty of it, but I was living in the wounded masculine, where I needed
Mm-hmm.
to be, grinding it and struggling to get it right. Every month, every penny I made, which I made plenty of it, was like, I had to sweat it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you heal yourself and you elevate that to the high masculine, the divine masculine, then you can go between the masculine and the feminine. And so the masculine is doing, the feminine is being, and you have to allow both to
Mm-hmm.
be within yourself and in your relationship. It's a dance.
Yes.
It's a dance between people, it's a dance within yourself.
Yes, yes. Ooh, Carmen. I don't think you guys understand what's going on here. This is good. This is really good. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes, and it's funny because we need a bit of both, right? But to your point, like living in the wounded versions of that, it shows up as it shows up in inappropriate, I guess if that's the lack of a better word. It shows up inappropriate when you're not healed in those areas. So that is okay, Carmen. Now, we talked about breaking up with like doing, for approval and for love and acceptance. Now, what were some types of like friendship dynamics or even friendships that you had to break up with on that journey?
So I am a firm believer that you are the average of the five people that you hang out with, right? Like we
Hello.
hear we hear that, and I don't think people really internalize that enough, right?
Hmm.
So I had some friendships where, in that desperate need that I had to get love and connection, my role was to sit there and listen to the drama all day long, right?
Hmm.
Every time we talk or we connected, it was this, like, not gossip, but like just like resuscitation of pain. And I realized what that was doing to me is keeping me in this low vibration instead of a high vibration where everything is possible, right?
Yeah.
So I had 3 or 4 friends that I literally had to set strict boundaries where I just wouldn't entertain anymore the let's go down in this rabbit hole of, complaining, and
Hmm.
let's instead look at life differently. And I have to say, sadly enough, 3 of those are not friends anymore because they couldn't cope with it. But I have the other friend who actually is so much like light now because
Hmm.
she went with me in the journey of, enlightenment, let's say.
Yes, I dig that. I love that. And you know what? For the people who say, "Oh, I don't have a lot of friends," or "I don't need a lot of friends," that means that you are the one that you're spending all your time with. And so if your energy is not right, you being around you alone is not helpful either. So I just want to throw that out there. Because the sum of the five people is really, really true. But then there's some of us that are like, "Oh, I don't need people." Yeah, you do. Because otherwise your own bad behaviors, your own bad habits are never getting checked, or you're never like becoming aware of self. We need to interact with other people to become somewhat self-aware.
And you want to
So,
interact with people who inspire you,
mhm.
who pulls you up.
Yes.
And that could be even like, listening to this type of podcast, right? Like where you might not be, friends with Tudora, but like the energy, I mean, by the way, she has an amazing energy, right? So like her energy will lift you up just by listening. And so that, if you don't have a lot of friends, that could be considered one of the 5 people you hang out with.
Yes, it's an association. Exactly. Yes, Carmen gets it. I love that. I really love that. Also, I so because I like to make sure that we overcome all the objections before they even happen. And so again, I know there's some of you listening that are like, well, but sometimes people really do need to complain. And that's true. However, your complaining should also lead to solutions at some point. Like, how are we moving forward? If your complaining never leads you to, or your venting never leads you to a forward solution, then you're staying stuck, you're staying stagnant. And so it's okay to like vent, but become more solution driven, become more forward thinking. How do I get myself out of this stuff, right, Carmen?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like, I joke because I'm big into energy. I'm a master healer, and manifestation and whatnot. And Abraham Hicks was one of the first things, like windows to that. And they said that, you have 17 seconds before you start putting momentum into an emotion or a thought, right? And so
Yes.
like I literally put them timers like, okay, 16 seconds, let's get it out. And I can go, because you have to let the emotion come out of you. You cannot stuff it up, right?
No, you
But
can't.
you say it beautifully. It's like you cannot get stuck there. Yes, we're humans. We need to talk about it. But when your everyday conversation with yourself or with other people is just to criticize or to delve on the bad things that are happening to you, nothing good is going to come.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what
That's
it
so
was.
true.
Mhm.
That's so true. Yes, Carmen. Yes, that's so good. Yeah, you have 17 seconds and then you gotta move on. But that's a good way to start practicing. It's
Yeah.
those kinds of things. Also, you said something really powerful about like talking to yourself too. And we can't think and talk sometimes at the same time. So if you learn like how to interrupt your thought pattern, like maybe I'm going down a rabbit hole of I'm feeling doubtful or scared about coming on the podcast today. Well, wait a minute, I'm going to have a great conversation with a great person. There's a way to start interrupting the pattern and start talking to yourself differently. Because if you're
Yes.
talking to yourself positively, you don't have time to like spiral into the negative thought processes and then it becomes a habit. So interrupt the
Beautiful.
thought as soon as it like, starts to come to you. Um,
Yes.
okay. So once you parted ways with some of those friendships, what did you feel like Like paint the picture of the impact. How did you start to feel? What was your life like, after you removed yourself from those situations?
So let's be completely honest. The first couple of, I don't know, days, weeks, whatnot, it's a little shocking, right? You're used to an attachment style. You're
Yes.
attached to these people in a certain way.
Hmm.
And it wasn't healthy, right? But it was almost like a detox period, uh,
Ooh.
to be able to come into my own essence, right? And I almost went into like solitude, like because I didn't know who I was either, right? I didn't know, I couldn't appreciate my growth and my own energy and experiences because I was always influenced by other people's, right? And so it was almost like a detox period of time where I, just went inwards. It's like, okay, what do I like? And if I want to attract new friendships, what do I want in these friendships? Right. And
Hmm.
ideally, I just wanted them to grow with me because
Yeah.
you don't want to get attached to someone and then it's like, okay, well, bye. You don't, we're not in the same plane anymore. But it's like,
Yeah.
I would love to bring into my life someone who grows with me. And that actually goes into marriages too, because I've been divorced. And so it's like this new person that's going to be with me needs to be someone who wants to grow, who wants to learn, who wants to discover, who wants to be
Exactly.
better, right? Not just
Hmm.
stuck in the, oh, this is the way I am and I always been type of thing.
That part, yeah. Growth mindset is super important in relationships and friendships. And it's funny, it's like even for the people who get stuck in their ways, there's still change going on around you. And it's like the sooner you adopt and accept the fact that things around you are going to change and that you got to kind of change and morph with it, the better you're off you'll be.
Yes, yes. Go with the
Because
flow.
things,
Instead of resisting it.
yeah, change is the only constant in our lives, you
Yes,
know?
yes, yes.
That's so true. So, okay, with that, we talked about some of like the not so pleasant friendship experiences, but I want to also make sure that we touch on some of the positive friendship experiences. So, what were some of the positive experiences once you started to, pivot that really kind of helped you on your journey? Some of the friendships that really just speak to your spirit.
Yes. So I actually have one set of friendships that literally saved my life. And this was earlier in my life. I had a very bad experience when I was 12 years old. I don't know if we have time to get into like the
We
details.
do. Go ahead.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So, a little bit of my background. I said, I was raised in a third world country, very middle class family, lower middle class family, but I had scholarships. So I was in a private school. And that was all cool until middle school, right?
Mm,
When the meanness all starts. And
yeah.
I was friends like with the rich girls from like kindergarten. And it was like this, crazy breakup in seventh grade. And I was heartbroken. It actually shaped who I was, and it made me close my heart on top of all my childhood trauma.
Yeah.
But then through high school, I met two friends that are still my friends today, and they were supportive, and they liked me for who I was. They like my goods and my bads, my highs and my lows, and they stick with me all the time. And then when we went to college, we were together in the same career, and then we met another two girls, so it was five of us, and they
Hmm.
used to call us the Power Rangers. And still, because we were like all together all the time, we were the only five women in the mechanical engineering curriculum.
Wow.
So we stuck together and we are still friends 25, 20, almost 30 years later, 30
Wow.
years later. And our like chatting tech, our group is still called the Power Rangers. So they
Oh,
definitely shaped my life. All empowering, all, growth mindset, positive people. Definitely that. But that was really early. I wasn't really clear of what I was doing back then, but it
mm-hmm.
just came to me. So I'm grateful for it. I didn't want to
Yeah.
discount it just because it happened.
Yeah.
Um, Now, as in this path, when I realized, okay, I have to break up with these people and get new friends, I was very intentional in what I wanted.
Hmm.
And I have to say that I have met the most amazing people online, which is mind blowing, right?
Hmm.
I remember when I first said, like, okay, I'm going to be a coach, and I was still working, but I was coaching and I started my Instagram. I met a couple of ladies, and today, to this day, we support each other, and I have met them in person,
Yeah.
and so amazing. And you know what? This is the way it works. My daughter, she's 14 years old, and I took
Hmm.
her last year to meet this girl that she met playing Minecraft
Wow.
in New Orleans. And I'm like, okay, I want to be a slave mom. Those are the terms she used, I want to be a slave mom. So I was like, okay, I'll take you. Conditions, you're not getting out of my sight.
That
And,
part.
have all these like security rules. And we met this girl, and she's like so amazing. And, when they're FaceTiming, she's always, saying hi
Hmm.
to me and whatnot. And it's that thing, like, we have to be open-minded. Like, where are these friends coming, right? Like, the,
Yes.
the world is evolving. It doesn't have to be in person. You don't have to have this, like, let's have coffee in Starbucks. You can have a virtual coffee with a person and still have the
Hmm.
connection, still get the energy, still get the impact, and
Yes.
maybe meet down the road. It can still happen, right?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. That's such a really, I love that openness. And I think for all the parents listening, when you have children, embracing some of these, new ways of connecting and helping them facilitate the connection so they're not doing dangerous things out of your sight is key because kids will figure out a way without you, and it's better with you. So Carmen, I really appreciate that insight because that's so forward thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I took her to Bitcom.
Hmm.
It's a TikTok conference,
Yeah.
and she got to meet Dream. I don't know if you guys know who Dream is, but now I'm all
Mhm.
informed. And now Dream is gonna have a concert, and she wants me to take her to the concert. And it's like, yeah, like I'm gonna have to have earplugs, but I am so grateful. Like, I bask in gratitude that my 14-year-old daughter wants me to take her to these things, right? Because
Right.
I have, and throughout this place also, I was able to see, like, she met people that she's met virtually, and they were able to connect in person. So again, going back to, like, I think with the way we live today, it's important to have different expectations of how these new friendships can come, and just be open, right? Be open
Hmm.
to uh, the possibility of, just connecting with, another person in a puck. I mean, like, the way we connected and the chemistry was there right away, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's always a possibility that you can meet someone amazing every day.
That's so true. Yeah, that is so true. I love that. I really love that. Okay, so it's your turn, Carmen. Put me in the hot seat and you get to ask me a question about friendship that you may want to know about or you may want a different perspective on.
Yes. I would love to know, when you had to break up with a friendship, how did you know it was time to do that? What were, like, the
Ooh,
triggers or the patterns that you, like, okay, it's time to move on?
that's a really good question. So you had mentioned earlier about the conversations that were happening. So in one case, we'd been friends for like most of our childhood, but every time we'd meet up as adults, we'd always go back. Like she'd want to talk about all the past things. And I was like, man, you're never really giving us a chance to get to know each other today. And so somebody that's stuck in the past is a key indicator for me. What people talk about, but specifically the language they use to describe stuff. Is it affirming language? Is it negating language? Like what are the words that people are using? Because one of my friends, she says words cast spells. And it's very true. If you're constantly using negating terms, you're blocking the flow of abundance and blessings into your life. And so for me, that's really huge. And then also one of my biggest things is how they say actions speak louder than words,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Okay. I hate that expression because really it's like words and actions in alignment speak
Mhm.
louder than words alone and louder than actions alone. And our
Yeah,
words and our actions should really match because, again, we're not from a healed place if we can't verbalize how we feel about someone, but we can only show them how we feel about them. And I know this from personal experience because I'm very much so a doer. And when I was only doing things for people to show my love, I was getting misunderstood and misread because I wasn't able to communicate. And there was some healing that needed to be done because I couldn't communicate my feelings for people. I could only show them. So
right.
it's really important for those things to be in alignment. And those are some of the things that, like, if over time I'm just like, oh, we're not seeing eye to eye, things aren't in alignment. That's when I've known it's been time for a friendship breakup.
I love what you said about the words and the actions because I actually have told people like I don't understand why your words never match your energy, right? You can be saying all the
Mm,
right things or you can be doing all the right things, but I would say it's words, actions, energy all have to be in alignment
yes.
for it to make sense. So yeah, I love
Ooh,
that
I'm gonna
recap.
add energy to that. I'm gonna add energy to that one because it's true. Like, it's and I really believe that it's the lack of belief in self,
Mhm.
if your energy isn't matching up with your words and your actions. Like there's something in misalignment where you don't believe necessarily what you're saying or doing.
Right. Or what's the intention behind it? Yes.
Oh, yes, exactly, Carmen. We got to do this again. Thank you so much for being on and sharing your time and your energy and your space with us. Like we really appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Tudora.
Absolutely. Bye.